Amazon, the last call.
Cartography has always fascinated me. To look at a map and dream about the journeys that are yet to come, and remember those that we've already made, is an automatic reaction. But not on this map. It is on a tray that would possibly fit into place in a film directed by my dear friend Pedro Almodóvar. A certain aesthetics, to say the least, a very particular one. It's a map made of butterfly wings, of the Amorphos, of the Morphos genus, a butterfly that is in danger of extinction. You should not buy these articles. I'm going to return it right now to this store. We propose other types of wings for Brazil. The wings of birds that fly freely, those ambassadors of the Brazilian skies, in which we are about to meet during this hour-long program. Brazil occupies 1/2 of South America with its 8,500,000 square kilometers. Of this immense live world, we have chosen any given corner, undoubtedly at the right time, the morning bath hour. In this stream in the heart of Brazil, our ornithological expedition begins. Refreshing themselves and us, these rainbow children give us their welcome. Various different bird species bathe in this rough-watered jacuzzi, showing us their colors and forms. None of these birds are alike, but they all have the same necessities. Their feathers are their treasures, and must be well taken care of. They are an example chosen by chance of the importance this place has for the water bird fauna, representatives of the bird kingdom in a country that is full of energy. "20,000 years ago, the hummingbird was already here. Proof of that is the Pleistocene fossil found in Minas Gerais, 600 kilometers from Sao Paulo. Brazil has the majority of the 320 species that live in all of South America. Miniature acrobats, some weighing little more than 2 grams. They are called by the Brazilians the beija-flores. They are called, among other biological titles, the smallest warm-blooded vertebrates in the world, competing in anatomy only with the European shrew. In spite of this, they are the few birds that hibernate like logs if the weather demands it, and in this, they are unique. South America is a bird continent. 1/3 of the world population lives here. Exactly 2,920 species. A lot if we consider that the total existence on the face of the earth is a bit over 9,000. With large beaks, long or short legs, with eye-catching or dull feathers, the Brazilian birds parade down a catwalk that is thousands of kilometers long to captivate us and make us reflect upon the aspects of biodiversity. Brazil is the 3rd South American country in birds, being topped by Peru and Colombia, in spite of their being smaller in extension. Nonetheless, 1,622 species come and go through the Brazilian skies and live their lives accommodating themselves to the landscape and adapting it in turn to their tastes and needs. Birds are just one of the exponents of the overflowing nature that this part of the world shamelessly exhibits. Animals that will show themselves and that will make our visit to Brazil a sure encounter with beauty in quantity and quality. They are, after all, feathered links of a large chain of which we too form a part, although we may find it hard to believe, and in which there is always time for love. Ornithology is renovated each day by a new discovery. It's not unusual to breakfast in Brazil with the front page news of the discovery of a new winged species.
This is a couple. This is the female and this the male. This species, before this recent discovery, was known to exist only in Venezuela and parts of Colombia, and now has extended its distribution to this point more or less, located in the Jaú National Park region. This is one of the largest national parks in the world, with 2,272,000 hectares, a huge and unknown region, in spite of having been studied for the past 5 years. The discovery of this species occurred very recently, less than 3 months ago, demonstrates the fact that, in spite of all the hard work, there are still many animals yet to be discovered in this region.
It's obvious that the larger our capacity to investigate, the greater number of species that are discovered. But fortunately, the jungle still keeps many secrets to itself. 200 kilometers from Manaus, Dr. Tania Sanayoti begins the day once again with the intention of winning Mother Nature's trust. She and her team from the National Institute of Amazon Research have been visiting this place for years and have finally been accepted by one of the jungle's most timid creatures. With her binoculars, she makes sure that all is well, and then, like always, she prepares herself to become as active as the friend she's visiting. Her work takes place in the heights. We accompany her this time. A camera has never before been witness to her field research, and we, like her, find it difficult to leave the ground. A silent and sure system of pulleys and ropes takes us off the ground, and 1/2 hour later after the operation began, situates us at the same level as the doctor's desired object. We are in a castaña de para, once again in the heart of the Amazon jungle, but in this case, 25 meters above the ground, and with the sensation of having entered the exclusive kingdom of some tropical aristocrat. We are not and do not want to be superheroes. We're just modest storytellers, and the ascent has defeated us. Javier Suarez, our cameraman, is having a hard time, but there he is, hanging from a tree and holding on as best as he can in order to show us who lives in the jungle rooftop. This is a royal visit. We have entered the territory of the queen of bird life, and we must keep appearances.
This is the chirp of the young bird, 5 to 11 times.
Recovered, Javier connects this appendage to his anatomy, which is the camera, and bestows us with this vision. A reward for fear defeated and willpower. The Harpy Eagle, the largest in the world, 2 meters tall, and with the females weighing up to 9 kilograms. This is a lonely chick, totally feathered and grown. Some of its claws are already 7 centimeters long, which means that it is prepared to hunt down monkeys and perezosos, its usual prey. It still hasn't decided to become independent and prefers living in its parents' house. The harpias reproduce every 3 years, and the young ones can remain in the nest up to a year and a half without abandoning it, being fed by its parents, and completing its slow development without hurry. It's a scarce bird. Don't be misled by the euphoria its deep gaze produces. There are only a few endangered couples left in Brazil, and all that we can do for them is not enough.
We have here the skull of a monkey. The Harpy Eagles feed upon some of the species of this group and of 2 perezoso species. Its favorite monkeys are mainly the alouatta and the macaco cebos, the latter being smaller in size. So you can recognize them. I'll show you an illustration from this book. The macaco cebos and the 2 species of perezosas. Of these, particularly the Frainha real, and among the monkey species, mainly the macaco prego, more common, although it also hunts younger specimens of the largest primate of the woodland, the alouatta.
Just like Tania, 2 Spanish biologists are investigating the habits of the Harpy eagle in Panama. Many are those that anonymously struggle to maintain the presence of this bird from the south of Mexico to the north of Argentina. In spite of the menace, the large harpia is in good hands. Tenderness is the key in our following story. A lot of sugar for this sweet encounter between birds and human beings. Thousands of kilometers away from the Harpy eagle's nest, in Puerto Jofre, on the shores of the Paraguay River, Doña Maria sweetens the lives of the sweet-toothed hummingbirds. A woman and an ecologist, in this manner she fills her garden with happiness and paixariños, as she calls them. This woman likes birds and attracts them to her home with kindness and understanding. Her garden is a refuge, an oasis in the cruel desert of the bird hunters, and the birds are ever so grateful. In Brazil, many people like herself do not know what it is like to feed a pigeon, but do know what it's like to feed hummingbirds, the identity of the tropics. Besides enjoying this friendly story, it also permits us to get close to surprising behaviors. For example, observe this hummingbird. It feeds on nectar, as do all the members of its family, and that's why it goes up to the artificial flower that Doña Maria has sprinkled with water and sugar. But something is going to make it change its diet today. The ants are attracted by the sweet temptation and get dangerously close to the nest. This will force this nectar-eating bird to devour ants in flight, more in defense of its chicks than as an entree. Its nest is the size of a liqueur glass and is built with saliva and spiderweb. Hummingbirds have very big salivary glands precisely for the building of their homes. The female is the only one responsible for reproduction in all known species. The agility, control, and hyperactivity of these animals attract our attention. Hummingbirds put a lot of heart into their lives, exactly 20% of the total weight of their little bodies. Too much heart, an enormous motor for a minute hyperactive bird. Just to get an idea, in our case, the heart is 0.5% of our weight. In comparison, nothing. The sharp beak is vital for sucking the nectar, but with a tongue inside that completes this sophisticated instrument. The tongue of this specimen is 4 centimeters long and acts like a precise hydraulic pump. A hummingbird can suck nectar non-stop for 16 hours a day, filling its crop with food that would be like a human being eating 50 kilograms of bread. What happens is that its metabolism transforms all that excess into energy, the fuel needed to move the turbo of its wings. And how they move. This male of the Califlux genus reaches 80 beats per second, and the sound it produces in flight is characteristic. Accordingly, a mosquito moves its wings 500 times in the same period. That's why the buzz it produces is fine and bothersome. There are people in Brazil who can distinguish the types of hummingbirds by the buzzes and sifting they produce. Each specimen, a sound, a cylinder capacity, another of Mother Earth's murmurs from the air. Although all human beings have a right to decent housing, not everyone has that. Fortunately, this does not happen in the animal kingdom. The birds, all of them, build their homes exactly where they need them. They undoubtedly need experience and knowledge to build beauties such as this one, the Clay João house. We invest our money, they invest their time. A male and female have taken a week to build this wonder. We've gotten close to this wonder outside of the breeding season. We won't endanger the reproduction of the Clay João, this little bird, but we will get close to the nest so you can see it, to show you an example of an abandoned nest that will no longer be used for reproduction. Show you an example of amazing animal architecture. It's an authentic shell, a shell made of cow manure at times, and in this case of adobe, what we could call adobe, a mixture of earth and small straws, of small graminite. The entrance, as I say, is like that of a snail's shell. It prevents the entrance of any predator. And then we find a cozy chamber, the place where the chicks, the eggs before, are protected from the heat and dust, the harsh climatic conditions. This is a structure that awes me, because among other things, and on top of everything else, it is resistance to the presence of unwanted and undesirable tenants. David against Goliath. A vulture weighing 1.5 kilograms, enjoying the light of dawn perched on the clay house of a modest and hard-working bird. The urubu is the South American vulture, known in Venezuela as the zamuro, in Cuba as the tiñoso, and in the times of the Incas with the sacred name of zopilote. For the Clay João, this big ugly bird is neither a god nor a saint. The urubu is a dangerous neighbor that with its weight can destroy its home and family. The two chicks, frightened, see their enemy from the inside of the nest. Death is posed on their rooftop this morning, and they know it because although it is an animal that feeds on corpses, the urubu would not hesitate in having the two little brothers as appetizers in the blink of a beak. It's incredible, but without arms, these two frightened little chicks embrace each other. With their comings and goings, almost nonchalantly, the parents have succeeded in making the urubus go away. Here in the Brazilian open country, it's more important to be clever than strong to get out of difficult situations. Back at home, and out of danger for the moment, the parents check the inside of their marvelous home. It's well built, but the weight of the urubu has made the walls tremble. A few pieces of clay have fallen, as if there had been an earthquake, and now, to get things back to normal, they must be taken away from the presence of the chicks. Peace once again reigns. This father feeds his chicks all kinds of insects without end. He wants to erase the fear with goodies. The cléjouans are massive consumers of spiders and caterpillars. They're good for the fields, and the farmer knows this. Their understanding of the ruling climate is also well known. The entrance hall can be either to the right or to the left. It all depends on which way the wind and rain comes. At any rate, the entrance to the house is narrow to avoid invaders. So much so that we can see the effort it costs them to get inside their own lair. The cléjouan is a very popular bird in Brazil. Many people have spoken to us about it, and about its original sense of architecture. Some, like Ari, with more tenderness than memory, have sung the romance of this dear and admired bird.
O João de Barro, por ser feliz como eu, certo dia resolveu arrumar uma companheira. No vai e vem, no balanço da floresta, certo dia fez festa, seu amor é bom.
We have found pearls of this precious animal architecture in all kinds of places. But naturally, always close to people, the joão like our company. Sometimes a couple choose to create a cooperative and move from a one-unit home to the tower of an apartment building. Many are the legends that follow this hard-working animal, and some insist on believing that these animals are Catholic and don't work on Sundays. Believe me, these images were taken on a beautiful October Sunday morning, and as you can see, not at Mass precisely. Under normal circumstances, the cléjouans take approximately 20 days to build their homes and accommodate the interior. The two lovers participate in the construction and share the tasks. While one prepares the mortar, the other puts it correctly into place without stopping until they've finally built a home in the shape of an oven. Besides being found here in Brazil, they are also common in Bolivia, Uruguay, and Argentina, where they are considered national birds and known as the horneros, or oven makers. These little birds weigh a slight 49 grams, but build on a large scale. This nest weighs exactly 4 kilograms, a magnificent work of art that could participate in any architectural competition and win. Don't you think so? Other sexist and cruel legends assure that the male will shut the female away behind the walls if he discovers her with another male. To achieve this, the joao, spited and humanly absurd, will seal the entrance with clay, leaving the treacherous female to die inside. Totally untrue. Don't let yourselves be fooled by the twisted stories of those who wish to manipulate natural history. And when you see a joao, remember that these birds have only one moral obligation: to reproduce and contribute in their own little way to the only confirmed miracle, the miracle that is the mechanism of life on Earth. In wooded landscapes, other birds also do what they can to brighten our view, and that of any first-time traveler who visits these equatorial lands. The European explorers who stepped into the jungle for the first time in the 16th century made reference to the suspended nests of exotic beauty of author unknown. Today's ornithology has given a name and face to these sonographers. They are the sheshu, or japuira, hard-working and flashy birds that add their creative touch to the landscape. Like our friends the clay joao, these are also artisans, but in this case in the tailoring department. These birds are haughty spinners, draping a tree with frills of grain so they can permanently live their maternity several meters off the ground. They seek security. They don't want any surprises nor predators near, and that's why they breed in large woodland gallery-type colonies of long-trunked and bare trees, close to a river if possible. Like graceful tailors, they stitch a long bag that, seen from afar, may look to us like a tropical fruit. But it is just another humble nest, the house in which up to 6 chicks will live. Rain or shine, these artisans work endlessly with spark and energy. The beak of the japuira is a skillful needle, threading it over and over again with mastery. The patterns are written into their genetic codes, and they don't miss a stitch. They sing once in a while, and on occasions their sounds hide an authentic spectacle of ventriloquism, because these tailors are also capable of imitating other jungle inhabitants, and not only their fellow birds. Their taste for imitating mammals, such as the Amazon otter, the coati, and the very jaguar, has been demonstrated. The voice of the japuira is lovely, but now a truly beautiful voice is this one. Listen carefully. This techno-tenor's voice is impressive. A modern artist live in the obscure jungles of the Pico de Neblina in the northwest Amazonia. Its music is surreal and powerful, a sampler of rhythms that covers a wide territory and fills the jungle with mystery. It's just the sound of the male Japwasu. By singing this way, they mark their territories and their harems. If our cameras hadn't discovered them while they were singing, we would have thought it music from outer space. But these birds are earthly polygamists. A male can fertilize up to 5 different females, and it sings in this manner until it loses its composure on the top of a palm tree. Meanwhile, the females build the nests like vegetable socks and will breed their chicks. Stoutly facing housework and the serenade of the great Japwasu stud. Social injustice on the shores of the Rio Negro. Brazilia is a modern city designed by man, and in which there is apparently no room for animal life. But our curious naturalist can once again help us understand that in matters of fauna, things are not always what they seem. For example, in college, almost everyone is unaware of the fact that Athena, the goddess of wisdom, lives among the students. Yes, a street community of owls discreetly watches over each and every one of the students during the academic term. With its appearance of an ancient bird, it has been living underneath the campus for a number of years now, and not a movement from its young neighbors escapes its large eyes. They are coruchas buraqueiras, small owls that have found their food, home, and tranquility in this environment modified by man. An academic environment for illustrious animals. These owls live in galleries underneath the lawn, and although they are night birds, they enjoy the Brazilian sun, as do the students of this university. Here they feel just as comfortable during the day. They have excavated their nests in the ground like rabbits, where they breed peacefully, away from the madding crowd. That's why their scientific name in Latin is cunicularia, a clear reference to their brother rabbits because of their taste for building tunnels. A zoology student has been following this phenomenon for a number of years. During the past 3 terms, aside from passing the academic exams, this student inspects each corucha lair, come rain or shine. We have followed and listened. An ornithologist always has new aspects to show us.
There are 6 corucha species here on the college campus. All of them have benefited from a process of destruction of nature, and some of them have abandoned the countryside and have settled here, like the corucha buraqueira. Also, because here, close to human beings, they find the food they like, such as rats, bats and birds in abundance. They feel comfortable here in this environment with no natural enemies.
But these feathered balls don't always live a peaceful life. In Corumba, thousands of kilometers away from Brazilia, their presence makes other birds feel uneasy. The quero-quero, a jealous cold-water South American bird, cannot bear the owls and makes life obsessively miserable for them. They don't represent any kind of danger. It simply dislikes them and harasses them with unusual contempt on every occasion it gets. It's about an ancestral territorial struggle in which, like it or not, they are sentenced to reach an understanding. One thing is certain, not only do they have a nest, the Coruchas also have a bunker here in the middle of the battlefield. They stole it from an armadillo and have redone it to their liking. They take care of their chicks beneath the ground and don't have to deal with the constant harassment of the rest of the neighborhood. Home sweet home. Brazil has 17 species of coruchas, or small owls, all efficient allies of man because they annually consume millions of insects and small rodents. Some undocumented and superstitious mentor of the history of ideas decided to label them with the unjust name of birds of evil. Yet with their evident beauty, they are essential to the landscape.
Este es el coco de la curí, el alimento base.
This is the Acuri coconut, the basic food and daily diet of our following guest, a species that will captivate us because of its corpulence, its strength, its capacity for feeding itself, as I've said, from this unique plant, a plant that would make me have second thoughts if my survival depended on it. It's a very difficult task to separate the coconut from the bunch. Besides that, if it weren't for a strong beak, it would be impossible. I have a hammer here with me. This hammer is demonstrating in its own way the fact that if we humans needed to feed off this coconut, we would indeed go hungry. Thanks to our cameras, we will see how our winged guest obtained this delicious treat in a matter of seconds. There are few birds in this world as beautiful and imposing. This is the biggest parrot in the winged kingdom, the blue arara. Its beak is larger than its skull, and it is capable of peeling this fruit, that is as hard as a stone, with the efficiency that we see here, with ease, as we mentioned earlier. Hammer, knife, and power saw, all in one beak, capable of amputating the finger of whoever dare lay a hand on it. Its tongue is also very special, having 400 more taste buds than any other bird, and with which they can perfectly distinguish between the salty and the sweet, the sour and the bitter. This group of araras knows perfectly well when the fruit of the acuri palm tree is ripe, and they've been settled here since early this morning for the harvesting of the sugars and fats that are the main ingredients of this impenetrable seed. It has a mobile and elastic jaw, joined to the skull by a special articulation that permits them to execute extra movements that expand the power of its beaks. Thanks to this sophisticated tool, this breakfast is just as nutritional for them as it is for the palm trees. When they feed, the araras let the seeds fall open onto the ground, something that could not be achieved otherwise. And this way, the future continues. They are very sociable and never go unnoticed. The araras like to show off. They have very few natural enemies, except for mankind, and they have an acute sense of community living. They like to live coupled up, and when they feel that they have found their other half, they spare neither flattery nor lovey-dovey behavior. These giants carry their 1.5 kilo weight from tree to tree. This watambu moves with the lightness of a hummingbird. They often travel in circles, performing a spectacle that is becoming more infrequent with time because their beauty has been their ruin. They are becoming extinct because they are beautiful. Persecuted by the international animal mafias, the blue araras, also known as the guacamayo jacinto, have been eliminated from many parts of Brazil. In spite of being protected by the government, some stable populations, such as the ones we see here in the state of Mato Grosso, are the objectives of the mafias and the thousands of buyers who wish to see them caged up. We don't. We prefer to see them like this, dancing across the sky freely, a cobalt blue for a peaceful green country. We have followed them to their hidden nests, a natural hollow in the trunk of a mandubi tree. The couple takes on an aggressive behavior, for there is a treasure hidden in the heart of this tree. 4 little chicks, which they jealously protect, introducing their meter-long feathered bodies into this groove in the tree. Although they live in large groups, the couples isolate themselves during the reproduction periods, keeping to themselves. The blue araras remain united to this tree like banners, clinging to life and filling ours with happiness. Five o'clock does not mark the beginning of bullfights in border and Amazonian cities like Tabatinga or Leticia. The citizens must deal with other animals, as feared as the biblical plague, and more numerous than the threatened araras. They are also parrots, pericos as they are called here. At the end of the afternoon, Brazil becomes the land of the parrots, a phenomenon that has already been witnessed and can be read in documents that date from the year 1500, and it's no exaggeration. The orange-winged tuiparas take over the city trees. They're noisy visitors that find in man's company the best hotel in town. To avoid casualties, it's best to sleep in groups. The more they are, the stronger the argument against being bothered by hunters. These pericos destroy everything they find. Entire crops have been prey to their voracity, and there are million-dollar losses in agriculture each year. According to an estimate made by the town council, in 1/2 hour, approximately 20,000 guests come here to sleep. And of course, the square meter of sleeping space is fought over in beak fights. This is a tropical phenomenon that leaves whoever sees it for the first time in awe. The contrasts of Brazilian ornithology that goes from contributing winged plagues impossible to control to examples of extreme scarcity. Our next story is a dramatic but hopeful one. One of those cases in which we are about to lose a species, as with the dinosaurs, but now only due to mankind's ambition.
Good morning, Antonio. Everything all right? Is there any news about the ararinha?
Yes.
When do you see it?
Today, I saw it today.
What time was that?
At 7.
At 7. Was it with the Guacamayo macarona? And did it stay long with the ararinha?
Yes, it was with her. It was with the ararinha.
And which way did it go?
They headed towards Leighton.
Leitan. All right. Thank you for the information, Antonio. All right, goodbye.
As he does every day, Alexander Gomez has just received information about the most esteemed living creature in the area and prepares himself to keep watch over it. The biologists of the Conservation Project and the people of this enormous northeastern region of Brazil closely follow the steps of the only live specimen of the blue ararinha that is left. We are talking about the most threatened animal on the face of the planet, a close relative to the great blue arara that we met earlier in the same episode, and of which there remains only one male specimen living out of captivity. The caatinga is its landscape, and he feeds off plants that are as scarce as he is. This fugitive has been alone since 1991, a male in need of love, and that is why it has chosen the female of another species. It is coupled up with a female maracana, a more numerous group of macaws. In this carabeira tree, love is impossible biologically speaking, but heartfelt and true. These images of this desperate lover in its natural habitat are unique in the world. We have obtained them under extreme conditions after many hours of patient waiting, holding them up as testimony to the resistance of these creatures, confronting those that insisted on proclaiming that there were no longer blue ararinhas living outside of captivity, and that their extinction was a consummated fact.
I have just returned from verifying whether or not the blue ararinha has laid eggs. But we weren't lucky this time. If it had happened, we would have changed the eggs. Real eggs for artificial ones. But unfortunately, there were none to change. We are looking for new forms of conservation because we're talking about the animal with the highest risk of extinction in the world. Only one specimen remains living outside of captivity, and on the other hand, this is an endemic species to the caatinga, a typical Brazilian ecosystem. It is a parrot that possesses a special beauty, and we cannot afford to lose it. Its disappearance would be a very sad thing. There is just one specimen left, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to recover this species.
It's a paradox that the blue ararinha is on the verge of extinction because of mankind, and now only we can save them. Currently, the recovery project of this species, a project directed by Dr. Yara de Melo, tries to take advantage of the reproduction energy of this strange couple formed by the ararinha and the maracana, and introduce the eggs obtained from the same species in captivity into their nests. If this strategy were to function, the newborn chicks would be fed and educated by their adopted father, the only live specimen out of captivity, and slowly colonize the landscape of their elders. But with each day that passes, the risk of failure grows, because the fugitive that remains is 15 years old and could die at any moment, taking with it its wisdom and the last opportunity for its species. A joint effort is necessary for this work to be carried out with guarantees and celerity. The Loro Park Foundation of Tenerife, Spain, has been collaborating for a number of years with the government of Brazil in this recovery project and has invested $400,000 in it. Some say that green is the color of hope. We believe that in this case, it is undoubtedly blue. Following the example of the Loro Park Foundation of Tenerife, the population of Curaçao has become involved in this rescue operation, turning the blue arariña into an esteemed symbol, a blue reason for continuing the struggle in a gray world. Antonio is one of the 12 Vaqueiros da Arariña, or Arariña cowboys, as the friends of these birds call themselves. In spite of being downhearted over the difficult situation this dear bird is going through, they're not giving in, and with a knife, a song, revive their dear blue arariña each day. There are 40 specimens that live in captivity in the whole world, distributed between zoos or private collections in the Philippines, Brazil, Switzerland, and Spain. This is the cause of its extinction, a ruthless persecution with the objective of putting this blue beauty in a cage, the blue of hope. We started today's episode in the Amazon jungle, and we're going to finish it here on the Brazilian Sertão, in the mud. All my shooting companions are exactly the same as I am, lost in the mud of the Sertão, because we have come to obtain those images in exclusivity, those exclusive images of the blue arariña right in the middle of the mating season. I borrowed this hat from my friend Antonio, this man from the Sertão, so incredible. Well, he is finished. He has completed his work of art in homage to the arariña. From here, from this program, and after having become acquainted with Brazilian bird life, we hope that this wonderful creature ceases to be a mere wooden figure and continues to soar across the Brazilian skies. Our next episode will describe a nature still life, kidnapped, sold to the highest bidder. Each year, 15 million animal furs are illegally commercialized, 135 million tropical fish, 10 million snakeskins, and other remains of this ecological shipwrecking. Our cameras will accompany those who, on a daily basis, fight against the mafia of endangered species in the sewers of the international market. Field investigations among the traders of ill-treated nature. A number of people with no scruples in Brazil and Spain make incredible profits from the lives of nature's creatures. And in this episode, we will try to evaluate the volume of this terrible business that negotiates with living beings, and that can annually move up to 800,000 million pesetas, a volume equal to that of drug or weapons traffic. Is there a price to live? We will search for the answer during our next encounter. We'll see you then.